Benjamin Hall is on scene. We don't have an update, Benjamin, do we, on this assailant, his condition, whether he said anything?
No, there's very little news coming from the police at all at the moment. You know, you were saying, though, that this is one of the most surveilled places in the world. Not just that, but all major networks have officers around here, you know, so we are getting incredible footage, and no doubt that was one of the aims of this attacker. And, of course, as you say, the police will be building, putting that all together and building a picture of exactly what happened. You know, I'm hearing that this was an unsophisticated attack, but that is exactly the way that many terrorists might operate now. We have seen the vehicle-borne weapon used again and again recently because, frankly, there is very little you can do to stop it. So we know that this man drove along on the bridge, which you can see behind me. He used that vehicle as a weapon, as has been done before, both in Berlin and in Nice, and then he carried on using it. So not unsophisticated at all, and in fact ISIS have called in some of their propaganda for people to come and use vehicles as weapons. And of course, as the police said, you heard him recently, there is no speculation about who was responsible for this. But again, listening to Jennifer Griffin, she is reminding us that this happens at a time when the US and the US-led coalition is ramping up attacks on the ISIS capital of Raqqa. They really are on the back foot there. And again, they are calling for people who might be inspired by them to carry out attacks like this. Now, also, again, we've been hearing about the one woman who was pulled out of the River Thames, but we have seen activity on the water itself. We've seen police boats come up and down. I think they've now passed, but even the River Thames was shut down soon after this attack, as were many, many streets in the whole vicinity around it. So yes, very much the heart of the UK here. And you know, if the intention was to get the world's attention, then that has happened. And tragically, of course, we're still hearing 2 so far known to be dead. The assailant, as you said, believed still to be alive, and of course the police will be trying to get as much from him as possible. But you know, it's a tragic scene over here, and especially some of those images. And I've been speaking to some people who were inside Parliament at the time, and they say that many MPs, many people working in the Houses of Parliament saw the assailant being taken down. They saw him running towards police, who shouted at him to stop. He didn't, and they took him down, they believe, very quickly. They say there was a lot of blood in that scene. But this is often talked about, that one entrance to the Houses of Parliament is talked about as one of the weak spots, because it is naturally where members of Parliament come in and out every minute of the day. And so while there are blocks of concrete around the whole building stopping cars entering, that is one point where you can at least get close and would be able to run in, as this assailant did. And of course, who knows whether or not he was able to do some surveillance of his own before, whether he knew that one weak spot, because he did enter the actual driveway of the House of Parliament, although he didn't enter the estate and the houses themselves. But it does seem, listening to the police now, that this does seem to be under control, and COBRA, the emergency body, will be meeting very shortly, we hear, to update the Prime Minister to try and find out who was responsible for this. Was this directed by ISIS or just inspired by ISIS, if at all it was ISIS? So a lot of questions still to be answered, but it seems that there is a lot of evidence at the moment, and we hope to be able to bring you as much of that as we get it. Shep?